In the past, the story unfolds in the 1960s in New York City, where a small-time swindler by the name of Tom Ripley is mistaken for a friend of Dickie, the pampered son of the affluent shipbuilder Herbert Greenleaf. Herbert hires Tom to travel to Italy and persuade his son, who has been living there for several years, supposedly pursuing writing and painting, to return home. In Italy, Tom arrives in a Trani and encounters Dickie and his girlfriend Marge, who is penning a travelogue about the town. Tom is captivated by Dickie's good looks and his carefree way of life, and subsequently, Tom reveals to Dickie the true nature of his father's plan. Impressed by Tom's apparent sincerity, Dickie invites him to stay at his villa. They encounter Freddie Miles, a rich playwright, who is weary of Tom. Freddie suggests that Dickie and Marge can join him for a Christmas ski trip in Cortina. In need of more money, Tom writes to Herbert, requesting additional funds. One day, Dickie discovers Tom wearing his clothes, and he assumes that Tom is infatuated with him, an accusation that Tom denies. The story begins with Tom attending a job interview. Afterward, they all go together to purchase a refrigerator. During the process, Tom openly expresses his disapproval of Dickie's choice to buy a refrigerator, as he fails to comprehend the necessity of such an appliance. Marge also shares a glance with Tom, indicating a shared sentiment. This conversation, along with Dickie ultimately selecting the refrigerator with more ice tray spaces, signifies that Tom's standing has diminished. Later, Tom visits the post office to pick up his own letter and attempts to acquire Dickie's letter as well. Unfortunately, Dickie had already collected his mail earlier in that day, and Tom also inquires about the address on the letter, but the postman was unable to provide any information. Upon returning home, Tom reads the letter he received from Mr. Greenleaf, and despite Dickie's reassurances, Tom realizes that he might have overstayed his welcome. The letter from Mr. Greenleaf, received in response to Tom's recent update and request for more money, states that Dickie continues to show no signs of returning home, just as before Tom's arrival. Given that Tom has spent over 2 months in Italy without making any progress on his assignment, it's not surprising that Mr. Greenleaf views this endeavor as a failure. However, this message infuriates Tom, who realizes he must take action to preserve the new lifestyle that he has grown to enjoy. Tom attempts to intercept an unopened letter from Mr. Greenleaf to his son. After a lengthy search, Tom finds himself in Dickie's workshop, but he couldn't grab a letter without Dickie noticing. Dickie then heads to Marge's place, reading the letter en route, which Tom observes from a safe distance. Tom eavesdrops on Dickie, telling Marge about the letter's contents, and fills in the blanks with a fabricated conversation about a plan to murder Dickie. During dinner, when Dickie proposes a trip to San Remo for the three of them, Tom senses that his host is trying to let him down easily. Marge offers reasons for why she can't join, but Tom interrupts this as a part of a scheme to get rid of him. The following day, while traveling in a first-class train compartment, Tom finds himself unable to take his eyes off Dickie's luxurious watch and ring as Dickie sleeps. Tom's fascination seems to be more with Dickie's pricey accessories than with Dickie himself. Upon reaching the hotel, Dickie reserves a double room for 2 nights, and as per standard procedure, they hand over their passports at the reception desk. Dickie then secures his high-end pen and money in his room's safe, which is operated by a key. He expresses his intention to find a unique perfume for Marge, one that's not available in Naples. Rather than having Tom accompany him to every shop, he suggests that Tom meet him at the beach instead. Dickie successfully finds the perfume he was looking for and comes across Tom, who is captivated by the sight of a group of handsome men in short shorts creating a human pyramid on the beach. Dickie makes a few derogatory remarks about the men being gay, to which Tom responds, "So what if they are? It's really impressive." Dickie then apologizes for spending so much time on his perfume search and proposes a boat trip as a way to make up for it. When Tom inquires about their destination, Dickie simply replies, "Doesn't matter?" Anxiety permeates this boat's journey, as we're already aware that Tom suspects Dickie and Marge might exploit his aquaphobia to get rid of him. Tom positions himself with his back toward Dickie, as if he's too scared to meet his gaze, uncertain of where this conversation may lead. Dickie mentions the upcoming Christmas trip to Freddie and indicates that Marge would rather Tom not join them. Tom swivels around to confront his friend, questioning his plans for the holiday season and beyond. "I think it's time you explored more of Italy," Dickie responds diplomatically, and Tom expresses his disappointment in Mr. Greenleaf's decision to terminate their agreement. "The most disheartening aspect was his dismissive tone," Tom remarks. Dickie discloses that after Tom wrote to Mr. Greenleaf falsely, claiming that Dickie was on the verge of returning home, Dickie informed Mr. Greenleaf that nothing could be further from the truth. "I suppose he felt deceived by your lies, and consequently, he believed you were taking advantage of him," Dickie explains. Surprisingly, the atmosphere remains calm between them, much to Dickie's astonishment, as he anticipated a much stronger reaction from Tom. However, this quickly changes when Tom unexpectedly strikes Dickie on the head with a boat oar. Tom continues to assault the shocked Dickie until he is lifeless, proceeding to confiscate Dickie's ring, watch, wallet, and cigarettes and sunglasses. Tom struggles as he attempts to untie the anchor, encountering considerable difficulty. Eventually, he decides to burn the end of the rope and fastens it around Dickie's feet. However, when Tom's to throw Dickie overboard, an unexpected turn of events occur. Tom is knocked into the water, nearly faces a fatal incident as the boat spirals out of control. After managing to get back on board, Tom successfully disposes of Dickie's body, and he then searches for a suitable location to sink the vessel, using a combination of burning and weighed rocks. And finally, he embarks on a long walk back to the hotel. Upon reaching the hotel, Tom collects their belongings and informs the front desk clerk that Dickie had already departed from the train station, prompting the need for both passports. Outside the hotel, he notices the boat rental attendant reporting that the two police officers who had taken the boat have not yet returned. Fortunately, the man fails to spot Tom, and later, while aboard the train, Tom adorns himself with Dickie's ring and begins his journey. Upon arriving in Naples, he avoids falling for an expensive taxi scam. At Dickie's villa, Tom begins to pack up various items in the studio, including the typewriter. He takes off Dickie's ring when Marge pays a visit, and Tom informs Marge that Dickie is currently in Rome, desiring some solitary time and intending to remain there for the foreseeable future. Consequently, Dickie won't be attending Freddy's Christmas gathering in Cortina. As a parting gift, Tom ensures to hand Marge the perfume that Dickie had purchased for her in San Remo. He also extends an invitation for them to spend some time together and offers to make her drinks, but Marge declines the offer and departs, taking the perfume with her. That evening, he was covertly observing her from a considerable distance, looking toward her window. Subsequently, Tom picks up some magazines and reads them, and he then travels to Naples and visits Carlo's business establishment to sell some of Dickie's belongings. He also negotiates with another man, including the sale of Dickie's boat. Tom tries to square things with Dickie's housekeeper, who harbors deep suspicions about him and refuses to accept the money he leaves for her. Tom packs up the Picasso, leaving behind only the items that hold no value. Tom boards the train to Rome and purchases tickets for an entire first-class compartment, allowing him to spend the journey perfecting Dickie's signature. In the restroom, he adjusts his facial expression to closely resemble the one on Dickie's passport, wearing Dickie's clothes to enhance the resemblance. Upon arriving at the luxurious Excelsior Hotel, Tom checks in using Dickie's passport. The desk clerk barely gives the photo a second glance, as Tom's wealth and elegant pen convincingly portray the illustration. Once alone in his suite, the imposter couldn't help but revel in the life that he had assumed, and he unpacks all of Dickie's belongings, including the Brooks Brothers robe that Dickie found unattractive. Unfortunately, Marge has managed to trace Dickie to the current hotel and has left an urgent message for him to contact her immediately. Tom feels the frustration about having to leave the luxurious surroundings of this hotel, but he understands that he cannot continue staying there. Consequently, he checks into a more discreet hotel, one that is less likely to be associated with Dickie's presence. Tom has a number of other errands to run throughout the city, such as getting Dickie's watch repaired. However, when he visits a jeweler, they notice that the watch has been exposed to salt water and accuses Tom of theft. To prove his ownership, Tom points out his initials engraved on the back of the watch. Afterwards, Tom proceeds to have a new passport photo taken and carefully fixes it over Dickie's image. At the bank, he manages to withdraw money from Dickie's account, making a successful endeavor for Tom. Tom then continues his pursuit of discovering as many Caravaggio paintings as possible, making his way to San Luigi near the Pantheon. The priest comments on Caravaggio's dramatic style, remarking, "Always the light." Arguably the most crucial item that Tom procures during his impersonation of Dickie is apparently the typewriter. This allows Tom to pen letters as Dickie, identifiable by the misaligned E, and the first person he reaches out is Marge, expressing his desire for some time to comprehend their feelings toward each other. In this letter, he defends Tom and mentions that Tom was the one who found the perfume. Marge responds, expressing her confusion about the events that transpired during their absence, as it deviated from the plans she and Dickie had made. She points out how ambitiously Tom explained Dickie's presence in Rome, and expresses her suspicion that Tom might be exploiting him. "I don't believe he's ordinary enough to maintain any sort of sexual relationship," she remarks. Marge mentions Mr. Greenleaf, indicating that Dickie's father had expressed concern about Tom. "Why are you disregarding his father's caution?" she questions. Marge deeply misses him and observes reminders of him everywhere. At his hotel, Tom presents the desk clerk with a photograph of Marge, explaining that she is his former fiancée and he's trying to steer clear of her to avoid any commotion. The clerk assures him that he will not disclose that Tom, posing as Dickie, is staying there if she happens to call. Carlo had managed to find a prospective buyer for the boat, and he negotiates with Tom over the phone regarding the commission. Dressed in his own attire, Tom collects the check for the yacht and cashes it, and he then proceeds to examine another Caravaggio painting, this one illustrating the biblical story of David versus Goliath. In this painting, David is seen holding the decapitated head of Goliath, and interestingly, it is a double self-portrait with Caravaggio portraying himself as an older man in the role of Goliath. Tom, impersonating Dickie, pens a letter to Dickie's parents. He expresses regret for his absence during yet another Christmas, but assures them that Tom is not the person they perceive him to be. Dickie mentions that Tom is an orphan and explains that Tom's experiences have made him appreciate the importance of family. While this is intended to provide some solace to his parents, we are simultaneously shown an image of Dickie's lifeless body submerged underwater. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and also leave me a comment below with suggestions on what movie or series we should recap next.